The galaxy was silent the night the fleet arrived. They came from the dark between stars, 1,000 ships shaped like knives. Every world that had seen those ships before knew what followed. Planets burned, cities fell, and species that once stood tall bent their heads and knelt. It was the way of the Empire. Boo or be erased. For 100 years, no one had chosen the second option. When the alien fleet appeared near Earth, the message was the same as always. A voice that was neither kind nor cruel, only heavy with power. It spoke to every human at once, carried through satellites and signals, translated into every language on Earth. The voice said one simple thing: submit, and you will be spared. Resist, and your world will end. People looked up at the sky that night, seeing strange lights moving like stars come alive. Fear spread through cities. Children cried, soldiers stood ready, and leaders argued in rooms where lights burned all night. The memory of other fallen species whispered across the stars. Some humans had studied those stories. They knew how the Empire worked. It broke spirits first and bodies later. The commander of the alien fleet watched Earth from his flagship. He had conquered hundreds of worlds. To him, this was nothing more than another name on the list. He imagined humans would scream and kneel like all the others. To him, this blue planet was only another resource, another trophy. He expected no fight, only surrender. But Earth was different. When the alien voice finished its demand, the leaders of Earth came together. For hours they argued. Some said humanity must bow to survive. Others said there was no survival if freedom was lost. They argued until their voices broke. Then one leader, tired of words, stood and spoke what many felt in their hearts. We will not kneel. That message was sent back to the fleet. It was simple. It was clear. No surrender. The alien commander listened and laughed. His laugh was cold like metal scraping stone. Foolish creatures, he said. You believe you are strong? We have crushed empires greater than you. Your weapons are nothing. Your armies are small. Your cities will burn in a single strike. And yet you dare to defy me? But the humans did not take their words back. Instead, a second message was sent. This time not from leaders, but from a soldier on the ground. The soldier stood in a ruined base, smoke behind him, his face dirty from battle training. His voice carried the weight of every man and woman who refused to bow. He said, we would rather burn than bow. The alien commander grew silent. He had heard many things in his life, but not this. Not defiance so bold from a species so weak. For the first time in years, he felt something close to curiosity. He wanted to see how long this little world could resist before it broke. Down on Earth, people were afraid, but they were also united. They had seen the sky filled with strange ships, and still they did not kneel. Farmers, teachers, children, soldiers all knew what was coming: fire and death. But still, something burned brighter inside them. A refusal, a stubborn flame. Rumors spread quickly. Across towns and cities, people whispered to one another, we will not kneel. It became more than a decision. It became a promise. Humanity would stand no matter the cost. The Empire, so used to easy victories, now faced something it had forgotten: resistance. The commander ordered his generals to prepare the first strike. He wanted to break the humans quickly, to crush their spirit before it grew too strong. His generals warned him not to underestimate the species. He ignored them. He had seen no reason to fear, but the seeds of fear had already been planted, not in humans but in the Empire itself. For the first time, they faced a people who refused to bow. The night before the first strike, Earth was silent again. Families gathered, soldiers prepared, leaders gave their last orders. Some cried, some prayed, and some sharpened their blades. Above them, the alien fleet glowed like a second sky, waiting to fall, and yet no human bowed. The Empire believed this battle would be quick. The humans believed it would be long. Both sides waited, breath held, knowing that when the first shot was fired, the galaxy itself would change. Because if humanity could stand against the greatest empire the stars had ever known, then maybe others could too. The warning had been given. The choice had been made. And the war was about to begin. The Empire did not wait long. The alien commander gave the order, and the sky above Earth lit up like fire. From orbit, beams of energy rained down, striking the oceans, mountains, and cities. The first blow of the Empire was meant to crush hope, not just armies. Whole streets turned to ash. Towers that had touched the clouds melted in seconds. The world shook as if the planet itself feared the invaders. People screamed and ran. Families were torn apart as the sky itself seemed to fall. Yet even in the middle of destruction, something strange began to happen. Instead of falling to their knees and begging, humans fought. Soldiers fired every weapon they had, even when they knew the enemy ships were too strong. Civilians dragged the wounded to safety, refusing to leave anyone behind. The aliens watched from their ships with cold eyes. They expected surrender after such devastation. On other worlds, the first blow always brought silence, then kneeling. But Earth was louder. Instead of silence, there was defiance. In the ruins of one city, a group of human soldiers set up an ambush. They hid in broken buildings, waiting for alien troops that came down to the ground. The aliens were tall, armored, their weapons glowing with deadly light. Against them, the humans had rifles, explosives, and courage. When the first alien squad entered the ruins, the humans struck. Explosions tore through the streets. Flames wrapped around the invaders, and the soldiers shouted as they fought with everything they had. It was not a clean battle. Many humans fell, but the aliens were shocked. These small creatures had dared to set traps, had dared to spill Imperial blood. For the first time in years, the Empire suffered casualties on a world that was supposed to be weak. The alien commander received the report with disbelief. "Impossible," he muttered. His generals told him it was not skill, only desperation. But still, he felt a spark of unease. Desperation could spread like fire. Across the world, similar battles played out. In the mountains, humans used the land itself as a weapon, bringing avalanches down on alien machines. In the seas, submarines struck from below, surprising ships that thought the waters were safe. In the cities, every alley became a battlefield, every shadow a danger. The Empire had power, but humans had cunning. They studied every weakness, every mistake. Where direct force failed, they used trickery. They hacked into alien communication, spreading false orders. They built traps from broken machines, turning wreckage into weapons. They learned faster than the Empire expected. Still, the cost was heavy. Millions died in the first days. The alien fleet burned forests, destroyed entire regions, and turned rivers into smoke. Yet the humans did not kneel. Even when captured, they refused to bow. Some were executed, but their last words were always the same: "We will never kneel." The commander began to grow restless. This was supposed to be easy. Why did these creatures not break? Why did they fight even when hope seemed lost? He ordered a greater attack. Entire cities were targeted, millions more lives ended in flames. The Empire wanted to break Earth in one blow, but with every attack, resistance grew stronger. Humans who had never held a weapon before took up arms. Neighbors who had once been strangers now fought side by side. Each death became fuel for anger. Each loss became another reason to stand. One battle became legendary. In a ruined capital city, a small unit of humans faced an overwhelming alien force. Outnumbered 10 to 1, they fought through the night. Their radios carried a final message across Earth. "They may burn our homes. They may kill us all, but they will never make us bow." Those words spread like fire. From hidden villages to great cities, people repeated them. The phrase became a promise, a shield stronger than steel. The aliens noticed something they had never seen before: fear. Not in humans, but in their own troops. Soldiers whispered that these humans were not normal. They were fragile, yes, but they did not break. And an enemy that does not break is dangerous. The first blow of the Empire had destroyed much of Earth, but it had failed in its true purpose. It had not crushed the human spirit. Instead, it had awakened something fierce and unshakable. When the commander stood at the window of his flagship, staring down at the burning world, he felt anger. But behind the anger was something worse: doubt. For the first time, he wondered if the Empire's power might not be enough. On Earth, the fires still burned, the dead still lay in silence, but the living carried their voices forward. Humanity had survived the first blow. The war was only beginning, and the galaxy was watching, because if one fragile species could stand against the Empire, maybe others could too. The Empire believed humans would break after the first strikes. Their cities burned, their armies were scattered, and their dead filled the ground. Yet still, Earth refused to kneel. Days turned into weeks, and the war spread across every continent. Smoke rose into the sky, but so did the voices of people who would not bow. The aliens studied their enemy closely. They wanted to understand why this fragile species resisted so long. They had conquered giants with muscles like stone. They had enslaved races with weapons far more advanced than Earth's machines. But none of those races had fought like humans. None had bled so much and still refused to bend. The commander sent spies and scouts to capture humans alive. He wanted answers. He wanted to know what drove them. On other worlds, prisoners begged for mercy, traded secrets, or betrayed their own kind. Human prisoners were different. Even when beaten, even when tortured, they said the same words again and again. "We will not kneel." Some smiled with blood on their lips as they spoke it. One alien soldier reported to his general, his voice trembling. "They do not fear death. They welcome it." I looked into the eyes of a human child, and he was not afraid of me. How can we break such a people? The general dismissed him, but the fear had already begun to spread through the ranks. Stories passed between alien troops like shadows in the dark. Humans were dangerous not because of their weapons, but because of something unseen, something inside them. On the ground, humans began to show their hidden strength. They were not the tallest, not the fastest, not the strongest, but they were clever. They adapted. In the ruins of a city, an engineer turned broken machines into deadly traps. In the forests, hunters used old bows and rifles to bring down alien patrols. In the seas, submarines hid like ghosts, striking and vanishing before the enemy could react. And more than skill, there was unity. No human stood alone. Soldiers carried wounded comrades through fire. Civilians risked their lives to hide strangers in their homes. Farmers shared food with fighters. Across Earth, the lines between soldier and citizen vanished. Everyone was part of the same struggle. An alien spy hiding in human territory wrote a secret report to the Empire. They fight not for gold, not for conquest, not even for survival. They fight for each other. If one falls, 10 more rise. If a city is taken, the survivors fight in the ruins. They have no leader strong enough to command them all, and yet somehow they move as one. The commander read the report and crushed it in his hand. He told himself it was nonsense, that these creatures were only stubborn animals. But late at night, when he stood alone, he felt the doubt grow. In one battle, deep in the mountains, a squad of humans ambushed an alien transport. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they used the land itself as their weapon. They triggered avalanches, rolled boulders onto the enemy, and struck from the shadows. The aliens fought back with plasma fire, but the humans melted away into the snow only to strike again from another direction. When the battle ended, the transport was destroyed and the aliens fled. Only a handful of humans had done it, yet the damage was enormous. The story of that victory spread across Earth like fire in dry grass. People whispered it in secret shelters, in ruined streets, in burned villages. The message was clear. The Empire could be hurt. It could be fought. Other enslaved species across the galaxy also heard the whispers. Smugglers and traders carried stories of Earth to distant worlds. In hidden corners of space, slaves spoke softly of humans. There is a world where the people do not kneel. There is a world where the Empire bleeds. Hope, small and fragile, began to stir where it had long been silent. The alien commander grew more ruthless. He ordered entire populations wiped out. Villages, towns, cities burned to ash. Yet even then, survivors rose from the ruins. Children picked up weapons. Elders gave their lives to shield the young. The Empire thought destruction would bring silence. Instead, it only brought more voices, more fire. The hidden strength of humanity was no weapon, no machine. It was something no empire could understand. It was the will to fight even when defeat seemed certain. It was the refusal to bow even when death was near. As the war dragged on, the aliens began to see the truth. They could burn the world, but they could not burn the human spirit. And that spirit was spreading. It moved like a shadow across the stars, whispering into the ears of the enslaved. The Empire had built its throne on fear. But now, for the first time in centuries, that fear was breaking. The humans had shown their hidden strength, and the galaxy was watching. The war dragged on longer than the Empire expected. Earth was supposed to fall in days. Weeks had passed, and still the humans fought. Their cities were in ruins, their skies filled with fire, and yet they refused to bow. The alien commander grew impatient. He had sent fleets, he had burned nations, and still the resistance spread like a disease. But the humans were learning. Every battle taught them something new. Every loss made them sharper, faster, more dangerous. They studied alien weapons, pulling them apart piece by piece. Engineers worked in hidden basements, turning scraps into deadly tools. Hackers broke into alien systems, sending false commands, blinding sensors, and tricking ships into firing on each other. The humans had begun to turn the Empire's own strength against it. One night, in the ruins of a great city, a group of rebels launched an attack that would change everything. They had captured a small alien drone weeks earlier, and their engineers had studied it. Now they used that knowledge. Instead of rifles and bombs, they unleashed the Empire's own technology, reprogrammed and reborn. Drones swarmed through the streets, striking at alien patrols, blasting their machines, cutting off their supplies. The aliens fought back, but it was like fighting their own reflection. For the first time, the Empire tasted fear. Reports spread across the fleet. Humans were not only resisting, they were adapting. They were evolving in the middle of war. And that made them dangerous. The alien commander raged. "They are insects," he shouted to his generals. "They should be crushed beneath our feet." But his generals exchanged uneasy looks. They had seen the battles. They had read the reports. These were no insects. These were predators hiding inside fragile bodies. The turning point came with a single victory, small on the surface but enormous in meaning. In the mountains of Asia, a human force ambushed an alien convoy carrying supplies to the front lines. Outnumbered, outgunned, the humans struck with perfect timing. They cut the road, destroyed the guards, and seized the supplies. Among them were weapons far more advanced than anything Earth had ever built. The humans did not waste time. They studied the weapons, copied their designs, and within weeks they had their own versions. Crude, imperfect, but deadly. What the Empire had guarded for centuries was now in human hands. The balance of power had shifted, even if only slightly. Word of the victory spread across Earth like lightning. People whispered it in shelters, shouted it in the ruins, carved it into walls. The Empire can bleed. The Empire can lose. For the first time, hope was not just a dream. It was real. The commander ordered the destruction of the entire region in revenge. Fire fell from the sky, burning villages and mountains alike. Thousands died, but the humans had already moved. The weapons had already been shared. The knowledge could not be destroyed. In the darkness of space, enslaved species began to hear more. Smugglers, traders, spies, they all carried the same story. Humanity, a small and fragile race, was turning the tide against the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known. On distant worlds, slaves lifted their heads for the first time in generations. They whispered the same words humans had spoken. "We will not kneel." The alien fleet grew restless. Soldiers muttered in private that this war was cursed. They asked themselves why this one species refused to break. Some began to fear the humans more than they feared their own commanders. For the Empire, fear had always been a weapon. Now it was turning against them. On Earth, the fighting grew fiercer. Battles raged in forests, deserts, seas, and ruined cities. Every human loss was heavy, but every alien loss was heavier. Because each time an alien ship fell, the humans learned more. Each weapon they captured became another tool, another chance. A new idea spread among the resistance. They were not just fighting to survive. They were fighting to win. One night, under a sky filled with burning ships, a human leader spoke to her fighters. Her voice was carried across hidden radios, across ruined streets, across the world. "We are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. But we are the ones who refuse. Every day we fight, we grow stronger. Every day we fight, we turn their power into ours. We are the spark that will burn their empire down." Her words spread beyond Earth. They reached ears the Empire had long tried to silence. In the darkness of forgotten worlds, slaves listened. Some began to prepare. Some began to dream. The alien commander realized the danger too late. The war for Earth was no longer just about one planet. It was about the galaxy. Humanity had become a symbol, and symbols were harder to destroy than armies. The turning point had come. The Empire could still win battles, but in the hearts of the oppressed, the humans had already won. And somewhere in the stars, a fire had been lit that no empire could ever put out. The Empire had always believed it was unshakable. For centuries, it had ruled the stars, crushing every voice of defiance. Its power stretched across countless worlds, and its fleets darkened the skies of 100 suns. But now, because of one small planet, cracks had begun to appear. Earth had refused to kneel, and in doing so, humanity had done something far more dangerous than fight. They had given others hope. The alien commander watched the reports with fury. Entire fleets were tied down in battles against humans. Supplies were vanishing. Soldiers were whispering of defeat. He had ordered punishments, he had burned cities, and yet the resistance only grew stronger. Worse, other species were beginning to stir. On a distant mining world, slaves laid down their tools and refused to work. When guards tried to strike them, the slaves rose in anger. They shouted a word that had crossed the galaxy like a storm. Humans. On another world, a group of rebels painted messages on the walls of their cities. Stand as they stand. Fight as they fight. Bow no more. The Empire crushed them quickly, but the words could not be erased. They lived in the minds of millions. For the first time in centuries, the Empire felt tremors in its foundations. Not because its armies were weak, but because its control was slipping. Fear was no longer absolute. On Earth, the humans pressed their advantage. They had taken alien weapons, studied them, and built their own versions. They were crude compared to the Empire's technology, but they worked. Fighters that had once been helpless now carried weapons that could pierce enemy armor. Soldiers that once fired rifles now carried plasma guns built from captured parts. Each victory, no matter how small, sent a message. The Empire was not invincible. The alien soldiers grew restless. Many had once believed this war would be easy. Now they dreaded being sent to Earth. Whispers spread through the camps. They said humans were not afraid of death. They said humans fought even after losing everything. Some claimed humans had hearts made of fire. Others said Earth itself fought with them. The forests, the seas, the very ruins turning against the Empire. The commander tried to crush such rumors, but even his own generals began to question him. This war, one whispered, is costing us more than all others combined. Perhaps it cannot be won. The commander silenced him, but the doubt remained. Meanwhile, humanity grew bolder. They no longer fought only to survive. They fought to inspire. Their messages spread across secret channels, across stolen frequencies, across the very networks the Empire used to rule. A simple voice carried through the stars. We are human. We are small. We are fragile. But we do not kneel. And if we do not kneel, then no one has to kneel. That message reached faraway worlds, and on those worlds people lifted their heads. For the first time in generations, they allowed themselves to dream of freedom. The Empire began to tremble not just from battle, but from within. Rebellions rose in hidden corners. Armies once loyal began to hesitate. Governors on distant planets tightened their grip, fearing revolt. What had once been an empire of silence was now an empire filled with whispers. The alien commander poured more ships into Earth. He wanted to crush humanity before the infection of hope spread too far. But every ship sent became another lesson for the humans. Every weapon lost became another weapon turned against him. The harder he struck, the stronger they seemed to grow. One night in the ruins of a shattered city, a human leader stood before her fighters. The flames of burning buildings lit the sky and enemy patrols prowled the streets. She raised her weapon high and said, "They call us weak. They call us fragile. But look at them. They fear us now. They fear what we awaken in others. We are more than a people. We are a signal. We are the proof that no empire lasts forever." Her words were carried across Earth and then beyond Earth. Hidden transmitters bounced her voice into the void. Slaves on distant worlds wept when they heard it. Soldiers clenched their fists. For the first time, the empire itself shook not from weapons but from a single idea. If humans could stand, anyone could stand. The commander raged, but his rage could not silence the truth. His empire was trembling. Its throne, built on centuries of fear, was beginning to crack. And deep in the hearts of billions across the stars, a new fire burned. A fire that no fleet could extinguish. A fire that had begun on Earth. The Empire could not allow this war to continue. Every day Earth survived. More cracks spread across its throne. Rebellions rose on distant worlds. Slaves whispered of freedom. Soldiers questioned orders. The name of humans had become a spark carried by the wind, and sparks, when left unchecked, could set fire to the whole galaxy. The commander made his choice. He would end this rebellion in one final strike. He summoned the largest fleet the Empire had ever gathered for a single battle. Thousands of ships armed with weapons that could shatter continents moved toward Earth. The skies of the blue planet would burn until nothing remained. The humans would be an example to all who dared to dream. On Earth, people watched as the night sky filled with shadows. Children held their parents' hands. Soldiers tightened their grip on weapons. Everyone knew this was the end. Either they would stand or they would be erased. There was no middle path left. In the hidden bases, in ruined cities, in mountains and seas, the humans prepared. Engineers worked without rest, wiring bombs, repairing stolen alien machines, building weapons from scraps. Hackers filled the air with false signals, ready to blind the enemy. Fighters loaded what little ammunition remained, and across the world a single message was carried through radios, screens, and voices. This is our final stand. We will not kneel. The Empire's fleet entered orbit. The commander looked down on the planet and smiled with cold satisfaction. End them, he ordered. The sky exploded. Fire rained down on Earth once more. Cities shook, mountains crumbled, oceans boiled. But this time the humans were ready. Shield generators stolen from alien ships flared to life. Missiles hidden beneath the Earth roared upward. Drones hacked and reprogrammed turned against their former masters. The first wave of the Empire met resistance it had not expected. The humans fought like a storm. In the ruins of one city, soldiers ambushed alien troops with weapons they had built from scavenged parts. In the mountains, resistance fighters triggered traps that buried machines under avalanches of rock. In the seas, submarines struck from below, sinking ships far larger than themselves. The commander's fury grew. He sent wave after wave, and still the humans stood. The ground turned red with blood, yet not a single knee bent. Each time a fighter fell, another rose to take their place. In the middle of the chaos, a human leader broadcast one last message across the Empire's own channels. Her voice was carried into every alien ship, into every enslaved world. You believe we are weak. You believe we are fragile. But look at us now. You bring your full power and still we stand. You can burn our homes. You can kill our families. But you will never make us bow. And if we do not bow, then no one has to bow. The word struck deeper than any weapon. On distant worlds, slaves dropped their tools and raised their fists. On alien ships, soldiers hesitated, their hands frozen above their controls. The Empire's greatest weapon, fear, was breaking before their eyes. The battle raged for hours. Earth was scarred beyond recognition, its skies torn by fire. But still the humans fought. They had nothing left to lose but everything to protect. And in their defiance, they found strength greater than any fleet. In the end, the commander realized the truth. Even if he destroyed the planet, the humans had already won. Their refusal to kneel had spread across the galaxy. Their spirit could not be erased. If Earth burned, 1,000 other worlds would rise in its memory. His fleet faltered. His empire trembled, and for the first time the commander felt fear. On Earth, as the sun rose through smoke-filled skies, the survivors stood together. Their homes were gone, their world was broken, but their spirits burned brighter than ever. They had faced the strongest empire in the galaxy and refused to bow. The galaxy would remember this day, not as the day Earth was destroyed, but as the day a fragile species showed the truth. Power does not come from ships or weapons. Power comes from the will to stand, even when standing means certain death. And so the story of humanity spread across the stars, a story whispered in dark prisons, in hidden camps, in the hearts of the enslaved. A story that carried one message strong enough to shake an empire. They could burn Earth, they could kill humanity. But they could never make them bow. The empire had not fallen, but it had been shaken. Earth still stood, scarred and broken, yet unbroken in spirit. The battle was over, but its echo carried far beyond the blue planet. Across the galaxy, the story spread faster than light. On slave worlds, people whispered it with trembling voices. The humans did not bow. In secret tunnels and hidden camps, rebels repeated it like a prayer. They stood against the empire. For centuries, no one had dared to rise. Now, because of one fragile species, entire planets began to dream of freedom. The empire tried to silence the story. Commanders sent out broadcasts declaring Earth destroyed, humanity erased. But even as the lies spread, the truth spread faster. Traitors spoke of battles where human fighters turned alien weapons against their masters. Soldiers who returned from Earth carried haunted eyes and whispered that humans had hearts of fire. The empire trembled more with every passing day. On Earth, survivors walked among the ruins. Cities were ash, rivers were poisoned, mountains were scarred, but the people still stood. They buried their dead with honor, but they did not weep with defeat. Instead, they planned. For them, the war was not over. It had only begun. Engineers continued to study captured weapons. Farmers turned their fields into training grounds. Children carried stories of the fallen, promising they would fight when their time came. The humans no longer thought of themselves as victims. They were warriors, and their planet was a forge. Leaders of the resistance met in secret. They knew Earth could not survive another full assault. The Empire would return with even greater force. Humanity's only hope was to carry the war beyond their skies. They had to strike at the Empire itself. At first, the idea seemed impossible. Earth had no great fleets, no powerful starships. But they had courage and they had knowledge stolen in blood. With the scraps of alien technology they began to build. Hidden in mountains, under oceans, in caverns of ice, humanity's first true starships were born. Crude, imperfect, but ready to fly. The plan was daring. A handful of ships against the greatest empire in the galaxy. But humanity had always fought against impossible odds. While the Empire prepared for a second assault on Earth, the humans launched their first attack beyond their home. A small fleet, silent and fast, struck at an Imperial outpost on the edge of space. The aliens laughed when they saw the human ships, weak, broken machines compared to their own. But the humans did not fight with strength. They fought with cunning. They used deception, false signals, hidden traps. They struck where the Empire least expected, and when the smoke cleared, the outpost was gone. The Empire lost not only ships and supplies, but something far more dangerous. It lost the illusion of control. The galaxy watched in shock. The humans were not only defending Earth, they were taking the fight into the stars. On distant slave worlds, the effect was immediate. Rebels rose in greater numbers. Armies of the Empire, already shaken, began to crack. Some alien soldiers even deserted, unwilling to fight a war that now seemed unwinnable. The commander of the fleet raged in silence. His empire was vast, his armies still countless, but he could feel the ground shaking beneath him. He had underestimated the humans once. Now he feared he had underestimated the galaxy itself, because the humans had done what no other species could. They had broken the Empire's spell of fear, and once fear was gone, the Empire was only a shadow of itself. On Earth, as the new fleet prepared to sail into the stars, the people gathered. They stood in ruined streets on broken soil under a sky still scarred by war. A leader spoke, her voice carried by transmitters across the world. "We are no longer fighting only for Earth. We are fighting for every voice the Empire tried to silence. We are fighting for every world forced to kneel. We may fall, but if we fall, others will rise, because the fire is no longer only ours. It belongs to the galaxy now." The crowd roared with defiance. The fire of humanity burned brighter than ever, and as the first human fleet left Earth heading into the unknown, the galaxy held its breath. The Empire still stood, but it trembled on its throne because the fire had spread.